Ladies and gentlemen, I almost got arrested last night for a righteous cause.
You did kind of bring it on yourself a little bit.
See, here's the thing. I feel
spineless cowards.
they brought it. They brought it on themselves, which is what caused me to bring it upon myself.
I see.
Yeah, so here's the thing. For those of you who, who may not have seen, and I actually don't know, could you also send the link in the Discord?
Yep, I did that a while ago.
Oh, okay. To this stream?
Yeah, to this one right now.
This specific stream?
Yep. I did that once you scheduled it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool, nice. Do you want to do the Sherry thingy onto just the post-Sherry thing? I can do it in a second. Anyway, point is, for those who were not aware, last night we attended the East Vincent Township, what was it, the conditional use hearing?
Yeah, it was the conditional use hearing, but it was also the opportunity for people that were potentially going to be affected by the installation of the data center to give them an opportunity to request to be party status within what is essentially. See, I don't know exactly what's going on because it's feeling like a legal proceeding, even though it's very unusual by comparison to the other things that are happening around in other counties.
Yeah, I think it's probably something to do with Pennsylvania having weird municipalities because our township system is not normal.
Well, but that's the thing is because when I was talking with the other people at the event last night, this is unique even for local counties right around us that have done the same thing in terms of setting up.
Is it a Chester County thing?
That's the thing is there's other things in Chester County that are happening too. I think it's whatever.
Just this specific group of people suck.
Correct.
And to be clear, that specific group of people, if you were wondering, includes Chair of East Vincent Township Board of Supervisors, Mark Brancato, whose term does not expire until January of 2030. But folks, I'm going to tell you this much. This man clearly has an ego problem. I'm guessing small peener. Anyway, he's bald. That probably doesn't help. But last night, he decided that the proper response to a room full of people who just testified and applied for party status in this hearing, this situation, despite the fact that they are legally obligated to provide people the opportunity to appeal and to explain why an application for party status has been rejected, despite that, they just wouldn't. They just were like, we're rejecting this one. Or do we have a motion regarding the application of John Smith? Yes, I motion to reject the application of John Smith. Do we have a second? Yes, I second. And then there's a third person who gets a chance to vote because there's 3 supervisors. And out of the 2 men and the women there, the only one with balls was Dana. Dana, I'm so happy that you actually stood up for the people of East Vincent. And by extension, every single person downriver from East Vincent, which is about 3.5 million people. So that's that's where we're at with that. But Mark Brancato and Craig Damon Jr., I'm sure if his father knew what he'd become, he would not have given him his name. But Craig Damon Jr., these two were just every single one that they could possibly deny, they denied. They voted to do so, and unfortunately, because Dana was only one of 3, she could not overrule them. But the response that the board had to an entire room full of people and a state senator telling them what they were doing was illegal, correctly, was to basically shout people down, just proceed as if everything was fine and they weren't breaking the law. And then when finally I said what everybody in the room was apparently thinking based on the thunderous applause to which I was escorted out of the building, I said, "You are spineless, pathetic cowards." And this upset Mark quite a bit. Little Mark. He was very upset with...
Little Marco.
Yeah, he was very upset that somebody described him accurately to his face. I'm guessing he's not used to that. And here's the thing. I'm not actually from East Vincent. We're from one township, or technically one borough over. East Vincent's a township, Phoenixville's borough. But we are within the heat island. If this data center is put in, a data center for which they had approval for 45,000 square feet, and they are now up to, what, like over 1 million?
1.7 million, I believe.
It's something crazy like that.
6 to 9 times whatever the maximum is by statute.
Yeah, they said the maximum. The member of the Planning Commission said last night that the maximum allowed square footage for that zoning area is 45,000 square feet, and what they are asking to do for this data center is 6 to 9 times the size of what is allowed.
Yeah. So, well, at the very least, that is around 1 million square feet.
Yeah.
So
one of the buildings is 450,000 square feet.
One was 500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. They said one floor of one was over 200,000. So everybody.
Let's not forget the lithium-ion battery storage.
And the lithium-ion battery storage and the generators, which they have not explained what will be doing the power generation. They said fossil fuels, but that's it. That's the only information we got. So everyone's assuming either diesel or natural gas, because those are the two that make the most sense. But this is another thing that's very important about this. This would be constructed within a mile of a nuclear power plant. And a nuclear power plant that is already not the most secure. It's I think it's like a Gen 2?
No,
is it a Gen 3?
Gen 4.
That is not a Gen 4.
Are you sure?
Limerick is not a Gen 4 nuclear power plant. Gen 4 is thorium salts.
All right, then maybe Gen 3.
It's definitely a Gen 3.
Hang on.
It was built in like 1965, dude.
Yeah, but they updated it.
I mean, maybe it's some kind of Gen 4, but the point is that construction-wise, it is old, it is susceptible to things like earthquakes. In fact, it is the most susceptible to earthquakes on the East Coast, which is usually not a problem if you are in a place that doesn't get earthquakes, like Pennsylvania. We're not on a fault line. The last time I felt an earthquake was in like early high school or middle school when one hit DC somehow. But if you were to have, something explode, that kind of shock wave might cause a nuclear meltdown. And that nuclear meltdown would affect the entire Philadelphia, New York, and DC areas.
I'm saying Gen 2, by the way. On
Gen 2? Yeah, I had a feeling it was old.
Yeah. They have been, their life does not expire. Like, they are rated to be run until, I think this is part of why I was confused, is because they were updated and they run, capable of running until 2024 and 2049.
Yeah.
2044 and 2049, respectively.
Yeah, so the point is, though, that construction-wise, that's a Gen 2 facility. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that, as we've now seen from the Iran war, and as somebody brought up during the hearing, data centers are now targets.
Yeah, and to add to that, not only is this data center happening near Limerick, but there are 2 others within 5 miles of that facility.
Yeah,
as well.
One's across the street.
Yep.
One is literally within, like, at least 500 feet of the property line, probably within 500 yards of the power plant itself. So, and to be clear, this is the best part. The reasoning they gave for a lot of these denials is that they set up this arbitrary 500-foot zone around where they're putting the data center in, where that's basically like, if you're within 500 feet, you are able to apply for party status. But if you're outside of 500 feet, you're not. And here's what party status means. It means that during these hearings, you are allowed to question witnesses, call up experts, provide testimonies. Basically, once this goes beyond the hearing phase and into something more quasi-judicial, that is when having party status matters. So we want as many people with party status as possible, to drag out the court proceeding as long as possible and cost Pennhurst AI as much money as we can. The other thing that we want is for more and more people to have party status so that Pennhurst AI has to explain why those people's concerns aren't relevant, or they have to find a way to settle with them.
But right now, the position of the Board of Supervisors is basically, if you live outside 500 feet, you are not going to be sufficiently impacted by this for your voice to matter. And scientifically, that's not true. The heat sink is like, 6 miles?
Yeah.
Anybody that lives down Schuylkill River of this site is going to be affected by pollution. I think the audible sound waves is 1 mile radius, and inaudible sound waves are even further than that.
3 miles, I think, is the inaudible.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a ridiculous, arbitrary number.
Yeah. Basically, anybody within 6 miles of this plant has an immediate environmental concern, whether that be noise pollution, light pollution, just infrasound, air pollution, whatever. But the other thing is that since this is being built on the Schuylkill River, everybody downstream, in my opinion, technically, has party status, because the way party status is actually defined is that you have, I can't remember the exact terms, but there was some legal jargon in there that was like a substantial personal risk to your property, something to those lines, or your health or whatever. And also, and I want to be clear, they set aside basically 3 hours for this. They wasted an hour and a half at the very beginning deliberating off record in a different section of the building.
Yeah.
They did not explain what the deliberation was about. They just killed time. They literally just went in there and wasted time because they knew that if they were able to get through everything, and we had time before that hard stop limit they set at 10 p.m., that people would have the opportunity, that people would demand to appeal their decisions. So this group of just absolute bastards did everything in their power to prevent people from having a say in how their township is governed. People were talking about cancer risks, about asthma, about wells running dry, livestock, because this is a farming area. So obviously the livestock that are within a mile can't ever get away from the sound, and that's going to bother them. Also, a lot of animals hear at different frequencies than we do, so sounds that might not affect us audibly will affect them audibly and make it so that they can't rest. We're already seeing studies that cows produce less milk around these things, and I guarantee you that within 5 years we are going to be seeing the cancer spikes.
Oh yeah.
So
one of the most important speakers, I think, whose application for party status was denied, was a gentleman who is not only in the AI field professionally, but also a 30-year volunteer fireman. And
multiple certifications.
Correct. And he has responded to calls at facilities like this where there were fires, and he knows people who did.
Yeah.
There was one
and he
in
also
Arizona.
built data centers.
Yes.
Like he worked on the construction of data centers.
Yeah, he cited a data center fire in Arizona where 4 firefighters were killed and 2 were permanently injured. And there's a tremendous fire risk to both the people that work there and the people in the surrounding area, and especially with the lithium-ion batteries.
Yeah.
That building catching on fire.
Oh, it's impossible to put out.
Yeah,
lithium-ion. Water doesn't work. Suffocating them doesn't work.
And the fumes from
the
that
fumes are
fire.
horrible.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing too, is that our firefighters around here are not trained to deal with that kind of thing. So it's going to be on the dime of not just East Vincent, but every single fire department within the alarm radius for when you go to help each other. So basically most of Western Chester County and some of Montgomery County, that they need to, the taxpayer is going to foot the bill for training these firefighters. Yeah. The data company isn't going to do it. So the response to all of these concerns, and one guy, he just did a phenomenal job of pointing out that every single week we find out some sort of new horror associated with AI data centers, and how even doing this process right now is inappropriate because we're still learning and proper studies haven't been done. But yeah, the response from the board to all of these people voicing concerns, their entire community, their neighbors telling them, hey, no, we don't want this. The answer is no, was to just chug along and keep telling people their opinions didn't matter and they didn't have party status, and no, we won't explain. And so finally, after myself, several other people in the room, and State Senator Katie Muth all informed them rightfully that what they're doing is illegal. And not only is it illegal, but it's pretty extraordinarily unique. Their response was just keep chugging along and doing whatever. So at a certain point, I lost my temper and I just yelled out, "You are spineless, pathetic cowards." And Mark Brancato goes, very, very aloofly, looks over at the police and goes,
"Oh yeah, the finger was great. That was the best part."
And at which point I say, I'll be quiet. And I sit back in my chair. And he, rather than, doing what the appropriate thing to do from a PR standpoint would have been one more word and you're out of here. No, he was like, no, I'm not doing this. So he had the officers, basically, waved at them to have me removed. And I picked up our battery and our power cord and left the phone recording, and then left as the entire room cheered for me, not for me getting kicked out, but for me calling them spineless, pathetic cowards. Because that is what every single person in that room was thinking. There was not a single person there at that hearing who was pro-AI who did not have a financial stake in this specific build.
Yeah, nobody applying for party status from the community, no ordinary citizens there were pro-AI.
Not a single person.
Or pro-AI data centers. It's important to make sure we're defining the issue. This isn't about
people know what you mean.
Whether you think that generative AI is art or not. That's
one guy had the best nuanced take while we were there, and he got up and he spoke requesting for party status, and he specifically said, I understand that in many fields of the world right now, AI is the future. I don't really have a problem with that. I don't care about anybody except for myself and my family. Yeah. I just don't want this near people. I understand they need to be built. I don't think it needs to be built here. And I think that's a really measured and understandable take. Absolutely. Because if you can achieve the same goal without negatively affecting people, sure. Yeah. Understandable, that's a compromise that is capable and willing to be made by communities. But the fact that people are not willing to make the compromise on the other side is the biggest problem.
What, you want to hear my conspiratorial takes on why they keep doing this in communities?
Sure.
One, this is the less conspiratorial, is that they know these things are going to catch on fire and they want to be around fire departments. And so they know that building it out in the middle of nowhere means if they want to have fire crews on staff, they've got to pay for them. So building it in places where there's enough land and plenty of fire departments around saves them a lot of money.
Yeah, by that.
Yeah. The other one is that this is the same thing as building fortifications and army camps outside of towns or in villages or things like that, and having garrisons.
Oh, I know.
Which is that it is about visible authority. And that they were going to say that this is about having these things where you are, you can see them, you can see that you can't do anything to stop them, and you better just go along with what Palantir wants.
See, what I thought you were going to say is that they want it to be a deterrent against striking these because they're next to large, clear civilian populations.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's not a deterrent.
International law to strike.
That's not a deterrent. If the United States is getting attacked, international law is out the window. Like, if we get to that point, things are bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but... Yeah, the response from the Board of Supervisors is basically, fuck you guys. That was it. They had me leave not just the building, but the property, which I thought was hilarious. I'm like, what am I? I'm like, dude, I'm not unarmed and there's 18 cops in here. Like, sorry, I am unarmed and there's 18 cops in here. Yeah. Like, what am I going to do? Also, I was pretty calm, Yeah. Like, as I was leaving, I was shouting, but that was to inform them that they just made the biggest mistake of their careers. Yeah. But when I got outside to talk to the cops, I was totally chill. Yeah. I was like, all right, well, can you let my boys know, where I'm at and what's going on? And they said, yeah, sure. I said, can I just go sit in my car? And they were like, they want you to leave the property. And I went, really? Yeah. And the cop goes, I know. He's like, I just got to follow the rules. I'm like, I know you're doing your job.
Some of the people in chat were not happy about the fact that there were police there. I will say it's probably standard procedure for them to be there. And the fact is they were as courteous as you could expect them to be.
The police were great.
They were incredible. The officer that came to update us about where Mattis was.
Was that the bald guy?
Yes. Yeah. He was super respectful and helpful. The chief even was like making a joke when you came up.
So afterwards, of course, once the hearing's over and I see cars leaving and everything, I'd swing back in and pull up to where these guys were standing outside one of the doors to the school, just talking with some people. And I grabbed my phone because I had left it with them so they could keep recording. And I just started chatting with some of the other people. And then I saw the cops coming out. And I went, all right, we should probably go hop in the car. I don't want to cause any trouble. I'm technically not supposed to be here right now. And as I'm saying, I'm technically not supposed to be here right now, one of the officers goes, I didn't see anything. I won't say which officer it was. But yeah, so I think what's frustrating most of all here is the cops know this is wrong. Yeah. The people know this is wrong. The planning commission knows this is wrong. The environmental commission knows this is wrong. And at least one member of the Board of Supervisors knows this is wrong. But the other two members of the Board of Supervisors, I'm assuming, have been paid off because there is no way you can sit there as your neighbors list legitimate concern after legitimate concern, cite studies, cite problems that have been occurring already, look at the news, like bring up all of these different things. I don't understand how you can sit there as your neighbors tell you, I am in fear for my life if you do this for legitimate reasons, and you just go, ah.
Well, that's the thing is, even if you're the board of supervisors and you're starting from neutral, at a minimum, the Planning Commission and the Environmental Commission both being unanimous no's.
Yeah, that's
already. I'm like, okay.
And again, then the unanimous.
Yes.
Unanimous no's.
And then even apart from that, you have the unanimous consent of the people that have come to speak to you.
Yeah.
Of what the negative effects are going to be to them personally. Yeah, to me, you have to be starting from some kind of bias that comes from somewhere that's pro data center in order for you to, not be immediately compelled by everything that's presented. The other thing that is important to note, too, from the environmental commissions, the representative from that who spoke, is that a lot of the things that are issues here of environmental damage and other things, burden of proof is on the data center.
Yeah.
Burden of proof that these things are positively safe. It's not, the burden of proof is not on the public to prove that the thing that this corporation wants to do is going to hurt them. There are key areas in which the proposals and the paperwork they've submitted have failed to prove the safety of what they want to construct.
Yeah. Also, onto the safety aspect, I just wanted to confirm a couple of things before I spoke on it here. So one of the things you guys brought up was the fact that lithium-ion batteries are often used as a backup energy source. And one of the issues about lithium-ion batteries, and I'm surprised we didn't bring this up earlier, but our theory about MH370, is that they are very rapidly burning, sometimes explosively burning.
If they're inside of a sealed container which is not vacuum sealed, then they will heat the air to the extent that the container explodes.
And the other issue is that they are, as you mentioned briefly, the suppression methods are not the same as a normal structure fire with water and things like that. They usually require more advanced techniques. An issue that is not being discussed about that right now that I'd be curious to see more thoughts on for people is one of the most common forms of water alternative fire suppression sources is now being under massive scrutiny and is kind of having to be totally reworked because it was found to be extremely full of PFAS.
Lovely.
And this is a lot of firefighting equipment, but it's specifically firefighting foam, what was used
also,
a lot.
Just a hot second. Comcast, oh my God. Get your shit together. Continue.
So that's found in a lot of the firefighting foam, which is used for chemical and unusual fire source materials. So that's something that is also going to be a factor about fire, like structure fires being addressed in these locations, is because fire departments across the country and world right now are in the middle of reformulating and discovering what they can use in alternative fire situations. So worth addressing. It's something interesting I also wanted to look into. It does seem that aside from diesel, the main source of power from fossil fuels. Yes. The main source of fossil fuels is generally methane gas generators. That is probably what they're going to be using at Penhurst, the Penhurst site. If they're not specifying which fossil fuel, it's probably because it's going to be methane, and it makes a lot of sense for it to be methane, considering we are one of the top producers of it in the country, and by us, I mean Pennsylvania. And we have a massive methane pipeline right at the edge of East Vincent Township. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's going to be part of the plan.
Also, fun thing, Mr. Joseph Clement, I don't know if he's a junior. I thought he was a junior, but maybe not. Maybe I'm mixing him up with somebody else. Anyway, Joseph Clement, the township solicitor, the attorney for the Board of Supervisors, apparently, according to his page on the company he works with, says that he routinely presents training sessions to elected and appointed officials focused on the Sunshine Act, promoting open meetings and court decisions under the right to know law, which Joe Clement, man, I'm shocked to learn that you're an expert on all these things you just violated yesterday. Truly
Who could
impressive.
have imagined?
I will say he's a very good lawyer.
Oh, he's a great lawyer. He is a great lawyer. If I needed somebody to make sure that no matter what the law was, I got away with it, I would hire that man. because good Lord, I have never met a slimier lawyer in person.
He's really good at manipulation.
He is incredibly good at manipulation. But the idea that this guy,
do you want to explain what he was doing?
Promotes open meetings.
Yeah.
As he was deliberately assisting the supervisors in making sure nobody got to know anything, is truly a remarkable thing to have on his page.
Speaking of remarkable,
so the thing was, I don't think he got a single person's name right as he called them up, which gave him the opportunity to then ask, did I get that right? And give them a chance to respond, and he could make a joke and just used it to disarm them. And Aiden's the one who pointed this out to me. And after he pointed it out, I couldn't stop seeing it, but it was really incredible.
It was an instance in which I had the suspicion that's what he was doing after the first couple times he did it, because it was unusual for somebody who was clearly that educated to be that, sporadic about correct pronunciation of names. The thing that gave
also,
it away,
some of these names were not hard.
Exactly.
Yeah, what was it? Schwab was one, or no, it was Klaus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the.
He's like, is it Claus
only
or
one way
Klaus?
to pronounce that name?
And the thing that really gave it away was when one man got up and he did the same bit about the last name, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm batting 0 right now with names." And
guy was wearing a Rollins jersey.
Yeah, the guy was wearing a Phillies jersey, and I was like, "Oh, so this is fully intentional."
Yeah.
Because you are trying to make it as personal as possible to people to be able to disarm them the best. Just know if you are by chance sent this later, it's really obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you notice it, you notice it. Anyway, I do have to ask, is it worth it? Is the money worth your soul, buddy?
It would seem the answer is yes.
It would seem the answer is yes, unfortunately. Because here's the thing, he's definitely being paid, by the township supervisors to do what they want. Also, McHugh, you have not escaped my gaze. That was the lawyer for the applicant, who, at the very beginning of the meeting, tried to establish a blanket objection to anybody applying for party status who lived outside of the 500-foot zone. Interestingly enough, they then proceeded to deny people who lived inside of the 500-foot zone but wouldn't tell them why, while also approving other people who lived outside of the 500-foot zone. So people inside are getting denied and people outside are getting approved, and they're not explaining to anyone what the criteria for the denial were.
Yeah,
and again, Katie Muth, who, for those of you who watch the show, you've probably picked up on the fact that I'm not a Democrat. I'm sitting here like, if she runs for governor, she has my endorsement.
Yeah, she was great. We're hoping we can get her on the show because she was really the only other person in that room that was as vitriolic and passionate as Mattis was her.
She and I were literally both yelling at these people simultaneously and frequently saying the exact same thing at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there like, okay, you have a state senator who's a Democrat. You have me, who's an independent, who has been a libertarian for most of his life. And we're all thinking the same exact thing. Yeah. That means you're wrong. I have never seen a more visibly politically divided room of people.
Yeah.
All so unanimously behind one specific belief.
Yep.
You had people in there who had straight up
Democratic Socialist
t-shirts. You had people in there who you could just tell they were Republican.
It's not hard sometimes.
Yeah. It was, you had old people, you had young people, you had middle-aged people, you had single people, married people, fathers, mothers, every single person in that room united against two people. Because realistically, nobody was mad at Dana.
Yeah.
Two people in that room. And that's what's crazy to me is these two people were elected before the data center boom. Mm-hmm. They never ran on anything to do with AI data centers. And yet, for some reason, despite the fact that nobody voted for them based on their opinion on data centers, they are now insisting that these two people have the right to decide for the rest of us.
Okay. Remind me real quick when Mark and Craig are up for re-election.
2028 for Craig,
Okay.
And, or I guess 2027 for Craig. Okay. Because it says term expires the 1st of 2028. Right. And Mark is 2030.
Yeah,
so here's the thing.
At least
Craig, you're done, buddy. If you're seeing this, if anybody has sent this to you, you're done. You're not winning office again. And frankly, I'd leave East Vincent. I'd leave Chester County and probably Montgomery County and go to, Texas where they want people like you to approve more data centers.
Where I'm going with this is I think, at least in the case of Mark, he's probably one of these politicians that counts on everyone will forget about my role in this by the time the election's
He probably is. And Mark, if you're watching this,
we're not going to forget,
I
buddy.
promise you, nobody's going to forget. I'm going to say your name every week for the next 4 years. And you're losing your election. In fact, I will personally organize a network of people to donate to whoever primaries you, no matter what their politics are, so long as they're not pro-AI and they're not you.
Well, I mean, he is a lawyer, so I'm sure he's got enough money to spend his time on another hobby other than ruining the lives of people in his township.
But on the other hand, he is a lawyer. So he's probably going to enjoy spending his time ruining the lives of other people in his township.
I think that's why he's doing what he's doing. Because every time somebody yelled at him,
he's an older dude too. He does not need to be doing this.
Yeah. Every time somebody yelled at him from the audience, he had this little smirk on his face, like he really enjoyed the power of being able to put them down.
The first time that meeting that he looked like he wasn't enjoying himself was when I called him a spineless, pathetic coward. That was the first time that his eyes went from like, I'm enjoying this, to how dare he?
I think it might have been the first time he might have experienced some level of self-reflection.
Maybe. I would hope. But my favorite part of the entire stream, because there's not, like, for, especially in that part, like, the phone just couldn't figure out where it was supposed to be focusing the microphone, which, like, Apple, just have it take stuff in, bro. It doesn't have to, you don't need to make it all specific, and it's a phone. Okay? It doesn't need to automatically sense where the sound is coming from. It can just take in the sound. Anyway, it also might have been YouTube that was the problem. Might have been their audio processing.
Sure, yeah.
It could have been the fact that we were in a gymnasium whatever that was, a cafeteria, where you can't
it was
really.
A gymnasium.
Yeah. Well, there was a stage. I'm kind of like, it's an elementary school.
Yeah, it was a mixed use.
That's what that's what our elementary school cafeteria was like.
Yeah, that's the thing. Somebody in chat mentioned, we should have had somebody running a boom mic or something to that effect.
I think it was probably
wouldn't have really helped. It's so live of a room.
Yeah,
having shotgun mic or whatever would not have.
That's
really
the thing. Yeah, that's why the room. Because I don't know if you saw all the basketball nets, but yeah, the like up above the seat level, there were the 6 basketball nets. So like I think it was a
I see
mixed use gym auditorium kind of thing. But I think moving forward, there's a couple things I think we could grab, but it should not be terribly hard for us to live stream with either the FX3 or my new Canon that I grabbed for that kind of reason.
Just really quickly, other thing. Mark, just in case you were wondering, Craig, you too. And I'm telling you this for your own safety. This is not a threat. I just want you to know your addresses are public. And before you think, oh, I can get rid of them, I know for a fact people have already taken them and written them down. I would recommend you guys move. Not because of anything I'm going to do. I like not being in jail. But because there are people who are just as angry as me, but who have a lot less to lose.
Would you say to move somewhere else in East Vincent or just leave East Vincent in general?
I mean, personally, I would prefer if they walked into the ocean. But if they're going to stay in Pennsylvania, there's a great town that's really in a good spot for revitalization. It's called Erie, and it's about as far away from here as you can possibly get. So you'd be, no need to worry about anything. Also, just to be clear, that is not a threat. I have no interest in harming anybody.
No, you're actually looking out for their best interests.
Yeah. You know what? What you should do is sign up for Delete Me, a Lore Lodge partner. They will remove and scrub all of your information from the internet as frequently as possible. And
we're not actually sponsored this episode.
This episode is not sponsored. I actually just use Delete Me. That's why you can't find me.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's just me telling you, like, it might feel like, I'm just a local politician. People are angry, bro. They're mad. And again, I'm not going to do anything. I would rather, do my job of I'm going to be more satisfied watching the look on your face as you hear that you lost your reelection than I would be if something bad were to befall you physically. But you should probably look into scrubbing your address from the internet and potentially even moving. The good news is I bet property values are about to decrease. So I would sell now.
Well, no, actually, because apparently where he lives, the neighborhood that he's in, is on the opposite side of East Vincent from where the data center is going to go in. So it actually won't affect him or his neighborhood's property.
What a surprise.
Will it be in the Heat Island?
No, it's just outside of it, I believe.
Oh my God, that's so crazy. Mark.
Funny how that works, isn't it?
It's so crazy how you, a man who is old and gray and, assuming nothing untoward happens to you in the next few years as a result of your actions, you're not long for this world anyway, because let's be realistic, man, you're getting up there.
I'm surprised you wouldn't want to leave like a positive legacy.
Yeah, right? Like, imagine how hard it's going to be for anybody carrying the Brancato name forward.
Yeah, that would be tough.
Yeah.
Imagine
I know I'd bully those kids.
Imagine how inspiring it would be if he were to turn heel on the data center and then suddenly come out against it.
Yeah. Have some self-reflection and think maybe the fact that an entire group of people that are my neighbors cheered when I was called a spineless, pathetic coward to my face. Maybe that should inspire me to reconsider my behaviors.
Or, maybe the fact that you're going to put in a massive data center right next to a veteran.
Yeah, that too. We forgot to mention there's a veteran center right there. And again, I have no interest in harming anybody.
But when you look at someone who says, my cancer will come back if you build this, and say, tough.
And then that person's cancer comes back, that person might. That's what I'm saying, is you got to remember, these are real people, real lives, and no amount of money that those bastards at Pennhurst paid you is worth it. It's not. One of the most inspiring things about that whole hearing to me while we were up there was the fact that I'm sitting there, I am looking out at all these people, and most of the people in that room were pretty old. And what were they doing? They were saying no. They were getting up. They were spending time that they could just, sit back, relax, be retired, whatever. Housing prices are through the roof here right now. They could sell. They could move. They'd be fine. But instead, they stood there and they took a stand for the people our age, for the middle-aged people, for the children of this area who are being put in danger. Frankly, considering everything that was said last night, I would argue that approving this is attempted murder. When you're aware that your actions are almost certainly going to kill somebody, that's a... If somebody gets into a car drunk and plows into somebody on the sidewalk, they knew when they got into the car drunk that might happen. That is why drunk driving is a crime. That's why drunk driving is a crime, even if you don't hit anybody. It's because you knew when you got behind the wheel that you might kill somebody. That you were not in a state to be doing what you're doing.
Yep.
And that's what these people are doing. It's disgusting.
The whole industry and apparatus behind the data centers is basically like, look, there is an acceptable cost of innocent human life.
Yep.
There's an acceptable cost in the minds of these people. That's how messed up there.
Mm-hmm.
I just would love to know, what's the justification? Not just what is the real reason. What is the reason that they are trying to purport to the public is the reason for saying yes?
That's the thing. I don't think they've said anything. I don't think they've given us any reason why we should agree to this.
I've had some people say it's about jobs, but the fact is they're going to bring in outside people anyway.
Well, also, realistically, how many jobs would it be?
Well, that's the thing. No, oh my God, not even that. No. Max 20.
And so that's the thing.
Probably not even necessarily full-time. And that's also probably night shift and day shift. So probably 10 people a day.
You got to wonder, the real question, honestly, for me is, does the number of jobs it would supposedly bring in outweigh the number of people that are likely going to want to, if not do, leave the town?
Oh, God, no.
So you're probably net losing tax income.
Here's the thing.
Yes.
I don't think they're going to lose. They're probably not losing tax income.
Well, because they usually, for these kinds of things, are giving the companies that build the data centers 10-year tax.
That's a good point.
Exemptions. Yeah.
Exemptions.
Yeah, Pennsylvania passed a law about that.
One person I think mentioned it, but it kind of got buried under other stuff.
Yeah, so that's the thing is, people are going to leave, property values are going to decrease. So you're going to make less money in property taxes because everybody's going to reassess the second that thing gets built. So you're losing money on property taxes. You are losing money on the people who are able to afford moving away, which those are the higher earners. So you're losing the income tax money. You're going to lose the sales tax money because fewer people with less money means less spending. So basically every single thing about building this data center is a net negative for the community, which is why I believe these people must be getting paid.
Yeah, it does seem like the overarching idea is that even though they're giving them 10 years of tax breaks, the taxes it'll bring in after those 10 years is going to be amazing.
Yeah, because, everybody will be gone by then.
Yep.
Which 10 years is plenty of time for more studies to come out, and if there's federal regulations...
Well, that's why I think they're trying to ram all this stuff through right now. They're trying to ram it through right now because they know that if they don't get it done, more and more studies are going to come out.
Yeah.
And if for the people who are like, oh, companies don't do that, DuPont did it multiple times. Like, with just... They were the Teflon ones, right?
Yeah.
You want to explain?
Yeah, so DuPont did it with C8, which was a byproduct of the generation of Teflon. And that's just a long carbon chain that is one of the forever chemicals. PFOS, which is it's PFOA and PFOS, PFAS, a number of different ones like that. Those fall into some of the similarities of C8. There are thousands of chemicals like that that have been developed by a variety of different companies in this country that are not regulated. You may have heard that C8 was recently regulated in a greater capacity than it was, to being, none as it originally was, despite them knowing it was harmful for decades and hiding the information because corporations in America love to figure out if something's harmful and then hide it from the public so they can make money. But yeah, so there are minimum 1,200 other chemicals that are not identical because all molecular structures are slightly different, but they are in the same family enough to cause a lot of the same problems as C8 and some of the PFAS that's being regulated now. The way that a lot of these companies are getting around that is they are tweaking the molecular structure of these things ever so slightly so that way they do not fall under the very specific regulations. Keep in mind, there are a lot of chemical companies in this country. A lot of them do great things, and a lot of them are very safe and keep those chemicals out of our water supplies and the environment. My girlfriend is directly responsible for ensuring that the plants in her company do just that, and she does a great job at it. But the problem is that not all companies are that good. Not all companies are that proactive, and you get things like East Palestine, or Love Canal, or Teflon, or any given number of things that you have found out about in the past 50 years.
And I think all of that is very relevant to what we're currently talking about, because most of what happened last night was the Board of Supervisors, or in particular, 2 members of the Board of Supervisors, repeatedly relying on archaic laws that were designed for warehouses and strip malls and outlets, basically commercial parks, like commercial and warehouse, or even in some cases, some industrial use. But in that case, you're talking about like a factory where 500 feet's probably fine, especially because if you have any emissions, they're going to be going out a giant smokestack that puts them way up there, which, as we know, not great, but better than ground level.
Yeah.
It's the same reason that you want a nuclear bomb to go off, up there rather than when it hits the ground. The air will dissipate the particles a lot better, and you have much less worry of radiation. It's the same thing with pollutants. But part of the reason that they're able to do this is that laws haven't caught up yet. We haven't had time. There has not been time to establish laws about these things. So 500 feet makes sense for a warehouse, makes sense for a strip mall, makes sense for a school. It makes no sense for a data center. These things... And what drives me insane is that they were adhering to that, but only in some circumstances.
Yeah.
And I noticed it looked to me a lot like the best spoken people were the ones who got denied, and that they approved. I wasn't there for all of them, but for the time I was there, it looked like they were denying the people who were well spoken and clearly knew their stuff and were going to be a threat during that process, and approving anybody who seemed like maybe they, wouldn't be confident with how they spoke or wouldn't be able to put together the necessary materials or maybe couldn't afford lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, they denied Senator Muth. They denied Larry Shank, who was the fireman.
Mm-hmm.
They denied that one pastor
Hackers.
who was also an environmentalist.
Yeah, they denied the hackers.
Yeah. Anybody that
570 feet, by the way.
Yeah, so basically anybody who had any kind of outside expertise that could inform them in the anti-data center direction were denied. I don't buy that that's a coincidence. Yeah. And do remember this when the midterms come up, by the way. The state, if this
no matter what state you're in.
This will affect every state if it hasn't already, and so the ability to have statewide regulations does in many cases hinge on what kind of state senators, representatives, and governors you have. Make sure that if you get the chance to meet any candidates in the midterm, you are asking them what they think about data centers. Pay attention to who you are thinking about voting for and what they think about the data centers. I promise you this will affect your daily life much more than any, conventionally partisan issue that you could run into at the federal level. This will affect your life much more directly.
And I would say this too. If you are somebody who looks at it and you say, oh, well, I'm progressive at the federal level, I can't sacrifice my progressive values in order to put an anti-AI person in. If the only anti-AI person is Republican and I'm progressive, then I have to vote progressive because I can't vote for a Republican. I understand those convictions. What I would say is this: at the state level, at the local level, at the very least at the local level, be a little bit more fluid with those party affiliations because they are relying on that. Right now, what the PACs can do and what the parties can do is ensure that both the Republicans and the Democrats on your ticket are anti-AI or are pro-AI. Or they could say, all right, well, this district is 80% Democrat, so we don't even need to worry about the Republican. We're going to make sure we get a pro-AI Democrat in. Yeah. So in cases like that, the Republican might be, a little bit more socially conservative. They might be less inclined towards, again, it's local, so it's not like they're controlling welfare or anything. Yeah. Consider putting aside the party affiliation, like I have considered doing, in my case, to vote for the person who is going to fight this. Because at the end of the day, I think the AI thing is the sort of concept, the sort of paradigm shift that I'm trying to think of. I'm trying to think of something that comes close. But in terms of realigning political parties in this country, but I don't think we've ever faced something that is a bigger threat. It is now all of us versus Palantir versus OpenAI versus Anthropic. Because here's the thing: no matter which party is in power in government, they're gonna do whatever they can to get their people in. Yeah. So it's no longer entirely about party affiliation. Now it's about the fact that there is a giant techno-fascist apparatus trying to build itself into our government. And they tried to do it with Biden, and they're trying to do it with Trump. They're going to try to do it with whoever comes next too. We have to fight them. It doesn't matter what party they are. It doesn't matter, what their overall goals are. We can go back to fighting about how much money we want to spend on food stamps after we have destroyed this burgeoning demon. There is nothing more important than this. So I think that's, if I'm going to say one political thing, it's going to be that, think AI first and let everything follow after. So if both of your candidates are pro-AI, sure, vote however you're going to vote normally. But if one of your candidates is anti-AI, seriously consider if you can put that person in while respecting your conscience.
Having said that, it is 8:25. Shall we move into getting some super
There are not a ton of super chats, and I just I'm browsing Mark Brancanto's Facebook.
Okay.
Out of curiosity.
I forgot that was a thing we could do.
He
Jamie, pull that shit up.
is a serial political poster. Some hefty paragraphs.
Which side?
Does not seem to like Trump. Also
Doesn't like Trump and is still pro AI is crazy.
that's what I'm trying to
It's
understand.
so easy.
Like,
It's so easy to be an anti-AI Democrat. All you got to do is say Trump and Vance are in bed with Palantir.
Yeah. That's what I don't understand, is this is somebody I would anticipate to be anti-AI.
Ooh, we do have PA disciplinary board.
yeah, but I think every lawyer on the Pennsylvania bar is going to have one of those.
I know,
we saw
but
that with
I'm still going to pull it up.
whoever. Yeah, fair enough.
He's got a whole post on Trump's hypocrisy from March 14th, which I'm not reading all of that because that is about 16 paragraphs in a Facebook
Good
post.
Lord.
Oh my God.
Apparently, this guy has a little too much time on his hands. But at the same time,
Yeah, dude, what kind of law are you practicing? You must be retired.
He's got to be.
Like, there's no way you're not retarded.
it was, I can tell you in a second,
Jeez, this guy has been...
corporate, public, and private sectors, litigation management, ADR, contract drafting and negotiations, preparing and presenting training seminars. That's when he was general counsel. Yeah, a lot of... Yeah, I don't know.
He does not maintain professional liability insurance.
Interesting.
Well, if he's retired, then that doesn't. Yeah. He doesn't.
I figured.
Need to. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a litigation lawyer for a while. Anyway, so one thing that I was looking into before I got sucked into the time warp of his Facebook was, what are some reasons to have data centers in your local vicinity? And this is a nice little article written on the CompuDynamics website, which is a logistics company, or what is it?
You know what this guy needs? He needs a Substack.
He does. He does. Mid-Atlantic's leading providers of mission-critical infrastructure solutions and services with nearly 3 decades of experience in highly complex engineered infrastructures. That is CompuDynamics.
Okay.
And this article is written by their chief financial officer, Brent Cato. And the reasons he gives...
Just really quickly, Mark, if by any chance you do see this, you need to make your Facebook private if you're going to be as much of an asshole as you are. Like, to this, when you're going to put this many people's lives in jeopardy, this many people's homes in jeopardy, this many people's livelihoods in jeopardy, you couldn't... This is a legitimate, like, not threat, or this is advice. Not legal advice, but just life advice. I should not be able to see who your family members are and their full names on Facebook when you are, when you've got your, like, some sort of open... If Sam Altman's hand is shoved firmly up your rectum, you shouldn't be in a position where I can see the name of your grandson.
Yeah, that's wild, dude. That's insane. Like,
also, clear, very explicit statement to everyone watching this. Do not go harass this man's family. Do not go harass this man. Harassing this man legally is my job. Harassing his family is entirely off limits and inappropriate. It is not their fault that Grandpappy needs to drink his prune juice more frequently.
I have a feeling he probably has family members that are probably in agreement with us.
They might,
Yeah, so...
all right, who has to tell Grandpa we got to take his Facebook away?
Yep.
Who's going to tell him it's time to hang it up?
So while you guys read that, I also want to give you this reading here from Brent Cato. And he says, I'll just give you the brief list. Number 1 is job opportunities. Every stage of data centers' life cycles require a dedicated, skilled, and well-compensated workforce. And he gives a whole little spiel about that.
For the most part, centralized by the company and deployed when they need to be, not local people.
Yep, and the local people that are there are usually for construction, and once that's over, the jobs are gone.
Yeah, that electrician dude in chat, that's exactly what's going to happen to you, buddy. Yep. I'm not going to say your name, but you know who you are, and that is exactly what will happen to you.
The electrician's probably like one of the few people that will...
He said specifically he's a guy who travels to different construction sites to do it for them.
Yeah,
he's not a guy who...
Yeah. Realistically, like I'm thinking more of like the people who are pouring the concrete slabs. Like once the slab's done, that's done. Anyway,
those are the local people.
Yes,
exactly. They're going to hire local people to do the concrete slabs and maybe even put the walls and the roof on. Mm-hmm. But after that, it's going to be specialized people who are flown in from Houston or Silicon Valley or something like that.
Well, it has to be because didn't you guys know that data centers are actually national security concerns? And part of the reasons why fires are such an issue there is because fire department officials can be held up to for almost an hour at times, if not more, by members of the data center infrastructure teams that are on site to ensure that they get clearance from, for example, as the article that I was reading earlier was for Amazon, to make sure that the fire departments actually are capable and allowed to come onto the site, even as the building's burning. Anyway, moving on. So number
Also,
two.
Mark, you do have good taste in music. I'll give you that.
We got to give credit where credit's due. Number two is infrastructure development for the local area around the data center. Data center construction and operation requires investment in local infrastructure. The construction vehicles and workers building data centers needs roads to get to the project site. Power grids and telecommunication networks must be bolstered to support data center operations. So, I mean, like,
That's why they're putting them right across the street from the power plant.
exactly. That would make a lot of sense. Number three is increased property values and tax revenue. And I'm going to read this paragraph in full. Data center construction increases property values and tax revenues for local governments, contributing significantly to the local tax base. In 2020, Loudoun County collected $330 million in tax revenue from computer equipment, $70.4 million in property taxes, and $2.6 million in license taxes. By 2026, Loudoun will generate roughly $1.37 billion in revenues from personal property tax alone.
Oh, this is interesting. He has a diatribe about government officials not being forthcoming.
Oh.
Classic. You want our officials to be honest with the people of Iran, but you won't be honest with your neighbors.
Funny how that works.
Remember the guy behind me when you had me kicked out who yelled, "Mark, you're a piece of shit"? I'm going to buy that guy a beer.
Yeah, wait till you get to his hypocrisy one from March 14th.
Oh, I'm past it. Hang on, let me go back. Keep going though. With all the jobs AI is going to bring us.
Yeah, well,
And the property
all
value
four
of
of them.
and the increased property value.
Yeah, the price of
Is
your
there
house
anywhere
is
in the
go up.
United States where property values have increased solely as a result of a data center?
Well, supposedly, according to this article in Loudoun County in 2020, they collected $330 million in tax revenue from computer equipment, $70.4 million in property taxes, and $2.6 million in license taxes.
Ah, yes, in Loudoun County, Virginia in 2020, except states keep giving them sweetheart tax deals.
Yeah, well, apparently in 2026, they generated $1.37 billion in revenues from personal property tax alone.
And?
Well, obviously, because of the data center,
They're connecting
the
that
property
to the
taxes
Oh.
went up.
That's what we're arguing?
That's the argument of the article, yes.
Is that the data center raised property values.
Correct.
It sounds like what the data center did was convince the assessors in the county that it made the land more valuable and they just raised everybody's taxes.
Yeah. That's generally how tax raising works,
Yeah.
usually.
So the data center didn't actually increase the property value. It bought some people off or convinced people in the county government that they should raise property taxes.
You have to look at the data on real estate
Yeah.
sales
Well,
to see.
it's
for
not even
sure.
that. It's
That's what I want to know. Are houses selling for more money, or did they just raise taxes?
Pretty sure they know the answer.
Because I'm gonna take a wild guess and say that they just raised taxes.
Because from the perspective of a person who has recently been in the process
Yeah.
of buying a house, if a house was half a mile from a data center, would that make you more or less likely to buy the house?
Considerably less.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I literally just bought a home here in Phoenixville, provided that my mortgage company gets it through their head that I have in fact been self-employed for 3 years. Anyway, not being near a data center was definitely something that factored in. I wanted to move to Kimberton. Here's what I'll say. Kimberton, which is, basically the border between East Vincent and Phoenixville, is much closer to the data center. I was looking to buy in Kimberton. I could not afford to buy in Kimberton. However, in a couple of years,
maybe now you will be.
But that's the thing is if say property values went down to the point where a house in Kimberton would cost me less than $500,000, but the data center gets built, I'm not going to move to Kimberton.
I'm thinking this, and there are 3 more points.
In fact, I'm considering moving to Maine. If this doesn't stop.
There are 3 more points in this article, but I think we kind of really might have figured out what the whole MO is that if once the data center's in, even if they're getting the tax breaks, if they can then work with the people within the township to then just raise everyone else's taxes in the township as a result, that would explain why they're doing it.
I guarantee you that's what's happening.
It's giving them the excuse to raise everyone's taxes.
This data center made your property so much more valuable. Meanwhile, this estimate goes down.
But your taxes go up.
Yeah, I would be interested. I would want to see a study of the average sale price per square foot, and probably whatever other factors you can include there. As many confounding variables removed as possible. But I would love to see a study of all of these towns 5 years pre-data center, and then a couple of years after it. You can. And you know what? I bet you, data companies, I bet you that even if you adjust for inflation, property values, the actual price houses are selling for, is going down.
Tell me if I'm getting too galaxy brained here.
Okay.
With data centers coming in and taxes going up and prices going down, it's going to get harder to live in those homes as it is.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons. So it's just going to make it that much more enticing. When somebody like, for example, a company that rhymes with Snack Snock comes in and offers you the original value of your home before the data center.
Oh, yeah.
And is willing to rent it back to you at a small price.
Or to rent it to somebody else at a smaller price.
So that way you can leave.
Yeah.
And then somebody who needs a home can then just come in and rent that. It's a weird, almost something that sounds like sneaking behavior. I don't know.
I don't think that's too galaxy brained, honestly.
I think that's the exact right amount of galaxy brain.
I think they went, the hurricane thing didn't work. The natural disaster didn't work, so we got to make an artificial one now.
Let's just go with the full techno-theocracy.
Yeah.
And then they can't even fight back.
Yeah. That's the thing, too.
Nothing in
it's like, it's so on the nose. It's so obvious. Like, you've got people, I think Larry Ellison, quoted Orwell. Quoted 1984. I don't know if he meant to. But I'm watching him on stage, and he says something that's almost word for word straight out of 1984, as if it's a good thing. It was a thing about, like, everybody constantly being monitored, and the cops are always going to be monitored, and you're always going to be monitored, and if everybody's always being monitored, nobody can commit a crime. Yeah, well, guess what? I don't want to always be monitored. I do things in private. I have to poop, Larry Ellison. And if you start monitoring me, I'm going to do it in your mouth.
That's very anti-panopticon of you, and that's very anti-progression of technology.
Well, here's the thing, Aiden. I mean, we're not getting it. We're not getting it. Look, the data centers, they're there for the AI, so that the AI can take all of the heavy labor of making art and poetry, or even writing the copy for your own website. Jesus Christ, guys. Hey, like the joy of writing a sermon can now be done by ChatGPT.
Yeah, but why would you want to do that? That's so hard.
I know. Why would you want to do any of those things, right? And on top of that, like, don't you want to constantly be worrying that the security cameras in your daughter's gymnastics gym are being viewed by creepy men in Silicon Valley, like it was just proven is happening with Flock?
That won't happen, because if you provide them the generative AI where they can make their own versions of it, then they won't actually...
See, that's the thing, though, is that exists.
Yeah.
Like, guys, I know horrible, horrible things. My brain is a repository of knowledge of terrible, terrible things.
For if you look into the abyss also gazes into you.
I couldn't even tell you how to access it because I don't know, but I do know for a fact these things exist. We do have generative AI for girlfriends because you know what? Fucking TikTok is full of people posting undisclosed ads for them. So it's considering how many of these models there are and the dark web's existence and the fact that people are evil, I guarantee you that if you can create lifelike pornography of adult women using AI, people have figured out how to do it otherwise, especially because some of these apps advertise themselves as you can take any picture and turn it into a video, or any picture and change the outfit. And this is how they get around the, sexuality stuff with the auto filters for ads on Facebook and TikTok and whatever. But they're already doing that. Like that's already happening. I said when all of this started, we're going to have CSA material, immediately. We already had people deep faking it before. We already had people photoshopping it. Now you have made it so much worse. And look, like, I understand people making the argument of, well, at least they're not real children, but that doesn't make it better. And also, I guarantee you people are doing it with real children.
Also, again,
it has never been more important to keep pictures of your children off the internet.
Yes. Also, like, where I can understand, again, what you're saying, it was like, well, at least it's not real children. At the same time, this is one of those things in life where there's two dogs inside of you, and the one you feed is the one that gets stronger.
True. Yeah.
So as much as I'm like...
Well, we also know that with adult pornography, people who view pornography more frequently will, and this has been studied, will divert into more and more obscene, more and more extreme materials. So, you might start off being like, a 15-year-old and you're like, boobs. And you're like, man, boobs are pretty cool. And before you know it, you're into weird stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's
and I don't mean feet.
Yeah, no.
Feet's weird, but
feet's actually a completely different thing, apparently.
Okay. Well,
no. That's actually an interesting.
And then that just supports my point.
Yeah. Well, apparently.
Clip of the week, right there.
No. Apparently that.
Actually, feet. Hear me out.
No. It's not a hear me out. It's an interesting neurological phenomenon because apparently the neural pathways that are related to like visual identification of feet.
Okay.
And that form of stimulus, when you get excited, are apparently relatively close to each other. If I'm remembering correctly from this post or whatever I saw ages ago.
Yeah.
And so apparently that happens when those neural pathways get crossed. And that's why it's such a common thing, supposedly, is because that's like a biological thing.
Yeah.
But going more to what you said, that is an addictive pathway being owned. And
it's the same thing that happens with drugs. You start off, and like, look, I know the whole gateway drug thing was largely propaganda, but the fact of the matter is that, like, if you are somebody who frequently smokes marijuana and you are really jonesing for some weed and your friend's like, I don't have any of that, but, I have these shrooms.
Yeah.
Look, I get it. They're not the same exact kind of drug, but
also
you might be like, well, something's better than nothing, and then you're doing that, and then you're hooked on shrooms, and then you're like, man, I really wish I had some shrooms, and your buddy's like, I've got acid. Like, that does happen. It's not nearly as prevalent as they tried to make us think it was with Dare and with the 90s commercials and everything. Like, not everybody who smokes weed is going to end up addicted to ketamine. But
it is a risk, especially for certain individuals.
And especially when it's something that is free and very easy to access, it's even more of a risk.
Well, it's even like Ed Gein was a frequent reader of these sort of like very gory graphic novels.
There's a lot more
not
wrong with
everybody
him.
but not everybody who reads hyper-violent material is going to
become hyper-violent.
Hyper-violent. The whole violent video games cause shootings, like that was BS. But there could be people out there who weren't thinking about it, who are going to start thinking about it. And it's a matter of the individual person. But
also, just to continue out the remainder of this article so that we can get past it. Number 4, related business ecosystem. Data center adjacent businesses activity increases, and it contributes to the diversification of the local economy. Businesses ranging from construction material suppliers, equipment rental companies, and construction trade businesses all see a surge in demand related to data center construction activity. Moreover, data centers inspire technology companies and data center adjacent businesses activity in the area.
Ah, yes, data center adjacent businesses, because I want to go get my hair cut in a place where I'm going to hear...
Oh, yeah, very much so. Also, the last two, very briefly, are skill and career training and investments in green energy and sustainability.
Investments in green energy and sustainability.
Green energy, well, they're burning methane there.
Yep.
They're burning methane there, and they're putting in diesel generators.
Green energy.
I like how they just lie.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, all they do is lie.
Green energy.
Well, but for example, data center colocation provider Vantage Data Centers entered into a 20-year power purchase agreement with Solar Africa, a pioneer in South Africa's solar energy financing. According to Vantage, the company is, quote, investing in the production of 870 megawatts of renewable energy to supplement the local grid that powers our Johannesburg campus. Over the agreement's lifetime, it is forecast to reduce the emissions of CO2 in the region by an additional 3.8 million tons, which...
Okay, in South Africa's defense, it can't get any worse.
Well, also, 3.8 million tons is not a lot. I need to clarify this. Let me just Google really quickly. So, tons of CO2 released by cars in the U.S. annually.
Oh, so do we have any super chats?
Yeah, we have a few.
Okay.
So 3.8 million tons is what they're talking about.
3.8 million tons?
Tons per year. To give you an idea of how much of a drop in the bucket that is, gas and diesel transportation vehicles, on-road vehicles in the U.S., put out about 1,489 million metric tons per year.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a pretty considerable number right there.
So, hang on.
Also, I figured I'd pull up some of the super chats from yesterday as well.
Perfect. Yeah, so that is... Look, any reduction in CO2 is good for the longevity of us as a species on this planet. That is beneficial. It's good to think about our future in that way. But trying to justify data centers as reducing emissions by only 3.8 million tons is not great. It's not an actual sales point. Yes.
And they're counting on you not knowing that. That's the thing. That's what they're doing. Is the whole point, the whole idea is ram this through before anybody has time to inform the public of what's actually going on. And again, what I don't think that the councils approving this understand is that eventually somebody's going to snap. That will happen. It is already happening. Sam Altman had a Molotov cocktail thrown at his house and somebody shot his front door. But it's not like, and you might go, oh, well, that's the figurehead of the whole thing. Nobody's going to do that to me. An Indiana councilwoman's house was shot at 13 times, like 2 weeks ago.
I mean, the Zizians killed a border patrol agent over this. Like, this is...
And frankly, here's the thing. Like, if you guys keep doing this, the Mark Brancatos of the world, when it does happen, when people do snap and they do start shooting, none of us are going to try to protect you.
Also, really quickly, before we jump to Super Chats, I did a little bit of research about a completely different topic before we started the show tonight, and I just wanted to give some people some information about world events that are happening right now.
I thought you were going to say feet.
No. But I do like the mindset that you have. No, so
Chimp is going to have so much fun with this episode.
I'm excited for you, Chimp. But no, so considering that the ceasefire was going to end tonight, despite its last-minute continuation by President Donald Trump, just wanted to keep people in mind that a KC-135R departed Tel Aviv at 6:44 Eastern Standard Time and has been doing circles around Jordanian airspace, along with a Royal Air Force KC-2 that has been doing a refueling path since 2:45 Eastern Standard Time, just off the coast of Cyprus, along with two Jordanian Air Force Cessna Grand Caravans departing Azarqa Airport and doing circle patterns over King Faisal bin Abdul Aziz Air Base in south central Jordan. And they've been doing that for several hours, back and forth.
Those are the ones that I think they've been equipping to fight drones.
Yep. And then...
If you've never looked up what a Cessna Grand Caravan is, please do so now.
Yeah.
If you're even familiar with the brand Cessna from like Microsoft Flight Simulator, yes, it's that.
Yep.
It's exactly what you're thinking.
Just a slightly larger version. Also,
and by slightly, he means slightly.
Yes. A couple... Now, this isn't that out of the normal, because this could be normal, but a couple flights from Tel Aviv to Los Angeles and Tel Aviv to, I think it was... London? No. New York took off about an hour ago. And a C-130 departed King Abdulaziz Air Base at redacted time, heading west over Saudi Arabia. Just some interesting flight patterns that are...
I want to believe they're just preparing for Iran to break the ceasefire.
So to clarify, what is the status of the ceasefire right now? Have they hit the supposed time?
Last we heard, it was extended.
I believe it was 8 p.m. Eastern time was supposed to be the end of the ceasefire, but
a couple hours
Trump
prior
extended it.
Yep.
To when?
Indefinite.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Basically, Trump said, we're not attacking you. He did say we're keeping the blockade.
Yeah.
But we're not going to launch any strikes on Iran, probably until they launch strikes on us.
Did you see those like 4 cruise ships that just like Leroy Jenkined it through the strait?
Did they make it?
Yeah, they all made it.
I mean, they're cruise ships, so it's not like they were cargo.
It's like, I got to imagine there was some
imagine the
voice
Navy
in that captain's head that was like, I can make it, I can make it, I can make it.
And you just know that the Navy was sitting there like, I mean, the Navy's sitting there like, oh, this is what it was like to be a U-boat captain.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Did
What?
you guys see the member of the IDF destroying the Christ on the cross?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just saw that. Didn't realize he did it with a sledgehammer.
Israel has issued an apology and replaced the statue with a nicer one.
That's good.
That is good. As I said on Twitter earlier, that is good. It does not erase the hundreds of destroyed churches and millions, or I guess probably tens of thousands of displaced Christian families who have been caught in the crossfire of their war with Hamas. But it is a good first step.
You can continue to apologize by sending us back some of those tax dollars that we've been
that too
vomiting at you for the last 50 years.
Or, not shutting down the Church of the Holy Sepulchre on Easter.
Indeed.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
Yeah, I know. You guys let the patriarch do his Easter service there, but it should have been open. It shouldn't have been, just him.
Yeah. Fair. All right. Super chats?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. So first is from Kelly in the official data saying, I'm sorry, effing arrested? This cannot stand. Next is Pseudo Legend. It's say for $20. Thank you very much. Says we're on the wide one now. Since I missed the deadlines for Supers last time, here's the Mothman update. Taming has begun.
Oh, boy.
I dressed as the Pixar lamp and started twerking based on the reaction of the moth. You can imagine.
Yep.
He seemed receptive. Are we regretting doing the lives again?
I remember why we stopped doing them.
Yep. Tyler Downripple 11 says, the clankers have bought your local government. It's a shame that we won't get one of those cool dystopias. We're stuck in this lame garbage timeline.
Also, yes, truly unfortunate. I'm going to go play Helldivers tonight to blow off some steam. Nice. But that's the other thing. Like, you do realize for the last 2 years, we've been propagandizing ourselves to hate this. Violently. Like, I'll be honest, if I thought I could get away with it, I would go plant bombs in these things. But I know I would not get away with it. So, frankly, I guarantee you that's the main reason most people haven't already destroyed these things. Because they're not well defended. It would not be difficult to blow these things up at all. Don't do it. But they are not well defended. I'm pretty sure the only reason people aren't doing that is because they have something to lose.
I love your strategy that you suggested of just planting endangered flora on the property.
I didn't say that. Whose idea was that?
Yeah, I never heard you say that.
I definitely never said that.
Yeah, you did not say that on the
Must have been somebody else.
All, yeah.
Must have been somebody who looks like me. There's a lot of people who look like me. I'm a very generic white man. But What was I going to say?
Planting bombs.
Not that. Planting trees, planting bombs, planting bomb trees. What was the super chat you read before that one?
You were talking about Helldivers.
Yeah, but before that.
Not the Mothman one. The one that I just read was that the clankers have bought your local government. Shame we won't get the
and
coolest
then there
stuff
was
because
the
we're stuck in this
Mothman
land
one was before that. What was I going to say? Well, it's gone.
Anyway, the Rude Canadian says he's proud of you. Specifically.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. It was like getting kicked out of Woolworths.
Yeah. Alicatori says, so glad you didn't get arrested, but man, corporations suck.
I consider... Here's the thing. The sole reason I did not refuse to leave without them arresting me was that my fiance would have been so mad if I spent the night in jail. Because here's the thing. That's all that would have happened. I would have spent the night in jail. That would have been it.
Well, no, first your fiance would have yelled at us, and then that
she would have yelled at you guys. But yeah,
she knows that we don't control you.
Yeah. But she does expect you to manage me.
That is my job.
Yeah, but yeah, the only reason that I did not force them to arrest me, to remove me, was because it would have pissed off my my fiance, and I did not want her to have to sleep alone.
Reasonable.
And be worried because, I wouldn't have had my phone on me and all that. But I am aware that had I let myself been arrested, it would have been better optics.
There's still time.
They're still good. The optics were still good for us. They were abysmal for those guys.
For who specifically?
Mark Brancato and Craig Damon, the second.
Not the first.
Yeah. Craig, I believe you have an election next year. It would be a shame if somebody organized a grassroots effort to fund anyone who's not you. I'm going to do that, Craig. I'm going to take your seat from you, Craig.
Anyway, moving on. Totally Aaron says, I wish you guys could stream like this more often.
We used to.
Yeah, we did. And then our lives got even more chaotic than they were before. Dynacide says, the tube is censoring my AI slurs. Bollocks. Damn gear chunkers.
Yes, that's the new one.
Sorry. It's chuckers, but I like chunkers better.
Yeah.
Gear chunkers.
I liked Wireback.
Yeah. Oh well, fight the good fight, gents. Godspeed.
Gear chunkers is going on the list.
Tinskin was a good one.
Yep.
That's what we need to do, is we need to start using the AI slurs against the people supporting it.
Yeah.
Mark, you effing clanker.
I do like Clanker Lover.
Yeah, Clanker Lover, Robo Lover.
Yeah. Wireback, Tinskin, Circuit Head.
Some of these are just actual slurs you've just put robot words into.
I did not create any of these. And I would never use them against another person of diverse background. However, I will use any non-ethnicity specific slur against Mark Brancato.
CPRL Griff, I don't know why it says your name that way, gave us $50 and said, thank you very much, says, I thought of something good Pepperbox exclusive videos, at least in that regard, and is recommending Waco, Ruby Ridge, Oklahoma City bombing, maybe a history of the CIA video, and I eagerly await Cody reviewing the body cam footage of your arrest. No, he won't. It didn't happen in La Crosse, Wisconsin, so it won't come across his feed.
Honestly, I've been planning to do Ruby Ridge and Waco at some point. Used to be because I was waiting for the buzz about Wendigoon doing it to die down, but it's been a while now. So, yeah, I could probably do that soon. And I'll do one on YouTube, and depending on how it does, if it does well, then I'll do the others. If it doesn't do well, then I'll assume that it's being throttled, and I'll pop them on to Pepperbox.
Someone said cog sucker.
Incredible.
Also, we are going to be posting a single video version of the existing JonBenet series. Not the new material, but the existing material on Pepperbox as a just one and done all the way through. We might reshoot for that, but we'll see if we have time. But the idea behind that is basically to start up the hype a little bit so that we can release the the rest of the series. And Pepperbox said that they would be cool with us having basically a limited exclusivity period. So that would be on Pepperbox for a while. And then for those of you who aren't on Pepperbox, it would come to YouTube before the rest of the JonBenet series drops, but it would probably be like 6 to 8 months.
Cool. JMO for $100, thank you, sir, says, man, I do love all these videos.
Also, to be clear, the rest of the JonBenet series is going out on YouTube first. It will be native to YouTube. It will be on Pepperbox and Patreon and everything, but it will be on YouTube first.
He says, so infested with the lore, Mattis, sir, where is it?
What lore?
I don't know. He said, man, I do love all these videos. So infested with the lore, Mattis. Oh, where is it? As in the Berserk video.
Why do you want me to feel pain?
Where's the Berserk video, Mattis?
I'll bring the book with me to California this summer. How about that?
By the fire, reading some Berserk.
All right, what else we got?
Let's see. From Phantomaniacs. Hello, boys. First, I wanted to thank Mattis for the Caesar salad joke he said on History Unhinged. I've been using it. Second, would you ever consider looking into the Susan Powell case? It's a crazy one.
Susan Powell. That name is familiar.
I got you.
Also, while you look that up, JMO is saying, also would like to see a Joan Gay Croft video.
Joan Gay Croft.
Oh, interesting.
All right. I have got
Wow.
both of those pulled up.
On December 6, 2009, Susan Marie Powell, a 28-year-old mother of two from West Valley City, Utah, disappeared from her home under suspicious circumstances. Her husband Joshua was identified as a person of interest but never charged. In February 2012, after a court awarded temporary custody of the couple's two sons to Susan's parents, Joshua killed himself and their children and the children in a deliberate house explosion.
Jeez.
Interesting. And then there was a made-up story of a family camping trip. Voyeuristic recordings were found. Yeah, this is a weird one.
There's a lot of dead people in this case. A lot of... Wow. This is kind of wild.
Oh, and then the uncle died by suicide in Minneapolis about a year after the murder-suicide, jumping from the roof of a parking garage.
Wow, that's sheesh.
There was a crazy...
this isn't like a mystery. This is just upsetting.
There was a bunch of probate lawsuits. Interesting.
It's crazy that the brother took himself out.
Yeah.
I wonder, I bet this has the same smell to it as the video that's coming out on Pepperbox next week.
Carrie Stainer?
Next
Wednesday, yeah.
Yeah, next Wednesday. Which I will say, if you're on the fence about Pepperbox, I understand it is $8 a month, but it does get you ad-free access to all of our videos, as well as dozens of other content creators. And the big draw over there is our series American Monsters, which is an in-depth, uncensored series about serial killers. So there's no not saying something because it might violate community guidelines. There's mainly not saying something because I didn't feel like it was necessary to say the words. So much less self-censorship. Yeah. Almost no self-censorship.
But the thing about the uncle, though, is you think about, in the span of a couple of years, your sister-in-law is murdered. Your niece, your nephews are killed in a murder-suicide by your brother. And your dad is arrested on voyeurism and CP charges.
Well, it looks like Michael also might have been involved.
Yeah, so it's in hiding
the body, in hiding the mom's body.
Yeah,
Susan's body. Yeah, but
what a case.
What else we got?
We got Mr. Dilo asking, is there anything coming on the Weird Bible channel, and will y'all be making a video about that AI thing?
I don't know what you mean by the AI thing.
Are you talking about the...
If you're talking about the New Yorker piece by Ronan Farrow, the answer is yes, next week's podcast episode is going to be about that. We just all have to read it.
Yep.
If you are talking about some other AI thing, I don't know what you're talking about. But as for Weird Bible, we were supposed to have an episode of My Apologies come out this month. Unfortunately, the guest for it had an illness in the family and could not make it. I do have one pre-recorded from a while ago when I had first started formulating the series, but I feel like it's in such a different format that it would be jarring, and I would rather continue kind of from where we left off with Andrew. So I do have another guest potentially that I'm going to talk to this week about coming on. He's in Australia, so it's a little bit different in terms of scheduling that and recording it, because we're going to want to do it here in the studio to maintain all of this. But yeah, the show, the channel is coming back. It's going to be formatted a little bit differently because Isaiah's kind of just not there. But yeah, the new format for it, and here's the thing, like, I would love to bring back Weird Bible itself, but I feel like we need Isaiah for it. So we either need to find a replacement for Isaiah who has the same knowledge and a good on-screen chemistry with us, or we need to wait for Isaiah to have time for it, which may never happen. As usual, what I would say is if you guys want Weird Bible back, that's in Isaiah's hands. Ask him.
Fair enough. Next up is Captain Gus McCree saying, what makes the grass grow? The trees are dry.
The trees do be looking dry these days.
Also,
might need some watering.
Also, Pseudo Legend says, I was prepared to get myself banned yesterday. That was total BS, and if I had it my way, let's just say underground boxes would need to be purchased.
Oh, boy.
In Ark Survival Evolved.
Ark Survival Evolved? Are we not doing in Minecraft anymore?
I guess not.
Whew. That's a good bit. I'm going to start saying in and other video games besides Minecraft. Thank you, Pseudo, for that. That was genius.
In Roblox.
In Red Dead Redemption 2.
In Far Cry 3.
In Fallout 2.
Duo Black Rose says, let me know when the next hearing is. I'd like to attend. I'm in the next town over,
May
and
18th.
I don't want it either.
May
next
18th.
hearing's May 18th.
6:30 p.m., same place. Was it in East Vincent Elementary?
I believe you were there.
Yeah.
Why are you asking me? I was in the parking lot.
I don't know what the name
smoking a cigarette.
Sometimes schools have different names other than the town name, and then
That's true.
It was East Vincent Elementary.
Also,
Thank
I
you.
don't smoke cigarettes, but just with how the night went, I kind of felt like I needed a cigarette. So
You kind of did.
you like sometimes you just need a cigarette.
Incredible.
And this was one of those times. Also, I was kind of aura farming and everyone missed it. Just saying.
We'll ensure you have some form of camera with you next time. We'll live stream with a camera so you can have your phone and you can live stream from TikTok while you're getting arrested. Yeah, Chimp. I mean, that's our goal. He said we should try and get as many recordings from other people as possible, and also better audio. It was kind of a last minute thing.
So here's the thing. This time, part of the reason that I didn't advertise when it was happening ahead of time was that I wanted to get an idea of how these things were going before I considered whether or not that was a good idea. Mm-hmm. It's a good idea. That's why we're saying May 18th now. That's why I will be consistently posting about the fact that it's May 18th at 6:30 at East Vincent Elementary School. And what I thought would be funny is I'm going to see if we can get Bunker to do this or if they'll be okay with us doing it through like Teespring or whatever. But I thought it would be funny if we all wore shirts that had Tommy Wiseau on them and said, "Oh, hi, Mark."
Red glowing eyes.
Yeah, the red glowing eyes especially.
Yep.
But I thought that would be an entertaining way to do it.
With a ballot in his hands.
Yeah.
Hamster Eater 9683 says Microsoft built several of these in the beautiful town of Wenatchee, Washington, the Apple capital of the world. It's loud, annoying, and everyone hates it. Keep up the good work, boys.
It is loud, it is annoying, and everyone does hate it. I will say I'm very much enjoying the fact that anytime there is a post about AI online now, there's someone in there who's like, actually, I like AI. And it's just an Xbox lobby from 2007.
Yep.
Underneath their comment. Truly, nature is healing.
I do be. Also, Elena Howler Werewolf Queen gave us $50 for an anti-AI research fund.
Yeah.
Use the money well, lads. Also, Peter White Jr. says, unfortunately, gents, Pandora's box has been opened and it will not be able to be closed.
It has not. That's what they want you to think. What's the, you guys know the saying about the devil?
The devil you know, then the devil you don't?
No.
The best trick the devil pulled was convincing everybody that he didn't exist?
The best trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he doesn't exist. Same thing with AI. The best trick Sam Altman can pull is convincing you that the fight is lost. It is not.
Did it come from The Usual Suspects?
It did indeed.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that existed prior to that movie.
No, it's from The Usual Suspects.
Yeah, so first of all, here in America, we could shut down every single one of these new data centers, and the only people affected by it would be the ones who bought into AI. Which, yeah, that would have some repercussions on the economy, but if you told people ahead of time that it was happening, we could find ways to revert back to where we were. The fact of the matter is, people say, like, well, we need the data centers for all of the things we were already doing. And I'm like, well, we didn't need all the new ones. We were doing fine with the ones we had.
And we didn't need to put them in the places where the people are.
Yeah, and alternatively, people will also say, well, you know, you use Instagram, that runs through a data center, and it's like, yeah, but I was using Instagram in 2015. And there wasn't a data center in my backyard.
Yeah.
So this is not a natural growth. This is part of the AI bubble. And that's the other thing, is when the AI bubble inevitably bursts and most of these things end up going unused, now it's basically a Superfund site. Like, it's a spot where you can't do anything. That's the other thing, by the way, is Pennhurst AI has not presented an explanation of how they plan to remediate the fact that it is a brown zone, which means that when they break ground, a whole bunch of chemicals like asbestos and lead are going to leach into the Schuylkill River.
The specific concern.
Also, there's a stream running through the property that they left off their map.
The specific concern with the brown zone on the Pennhurst site is that there's a significant amount of coal ash that is there. And coal ash, for those of you that are not familiar, especially some specific types of coal that are local to our area, is radioactive.
Yep.
Not heavily so, but it is in fact radioactive.
Enough where a whole bunch of it going to the river at once would be a problem for everybody downstream of Pennhurst. And you know what's downstream of Pennhurst, everybody?
We are
the 6th largest city in the country.
Yep.
Philadelphia gets its water partially from the Schuylkill.
And then it goes out into the ocean.
Yeah.
We already have infrastructure built into the Schuylkill
first.
River that is attempting to address the issue of coal ash that was already pre-existing.
We've been fighting so hard to clean up the Schuylkill, and they're going to ruin all of it.
Well, you know, that's what all the dams are for in the Schuylkill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've been there for decades in an attempt to stop the coal ash from going to Philadelphia and to the ocean. But there's a reason there's one every few miles, is because they're not the most effective thing in the world.
We have them even in the creeks.
Yeah.
French Creek has them.
Yep.
Perkiomen Creek has them. We've worked very hard to clean up these rivers after Pennsylvania being the epicenter of coal and steel in the world for a while there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Shapiro, man, you were like, hey, how can I bring back Pennsylvania, make it what it used to be? And rather than doing any of the things that made Pennsylvania what it used to be, you went, I know, I'll do something nobody wants. Like, sorry, buddy, your presidential ambitions are just beyond shot. Now, I do think that just for the meme, you and Ben Shapiro should run on a joint ticket. And you should do the Shakira thing, but Shapira.
Ben can play the violin accompaniment.
I will say that would have that campaign would have probably the best social media of any campaign in history.
It would be the best
And I don't just say that because of Shapiro. Josh Shapiro is also very good at his social media game.
It would be the most viewed and most enjoyed losing campaign in history.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Green Turd is asking if we have a favorite sea creature.
I like dolphins. Just bottlenose dolphins.
I'm a big fan of anything that like lives. What are those things called that live on the underwater volcanoes?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like they
Extremophiles?
Yeah, basically.
Category.
There's a specific species of them. But anyway, it's these immobile creatures that they live in the hottest and highest water pressure areas of the planet, and they just live there.
Yeah.
It's not tardigrades, is it?
No, it's these. Someone in chat's gonna know it. They're like I think they're related to like anemones, kind of.
Okay.
Like they're like these like tube shaped things.
Yeah, they're basically a firm of coral that like siphon off the sulfur from.
Yeah, basically, and it's so cool that anything can live in that type of condition.
Life finds a way.
Yeah. Hey, your scientists were so busy thinking about whether or not they could that they didn't stop thinking about whether or not they should.
Literally. I'm a big fan of orcas. I used to really love great whites, still do, but I think orcas are probably the most badass.
So you were a fan of great white sharks, and you were like, you know what's cooler than great white sharks?
The
things that kill great white sharks, which in a way I suppose is reasonable. If you know what? Guess if you're like, man, I really like catapults, and then you see a trebuchet, you're like, that's just the next best thing.
Well, the thing that I found really fascinating about orcas is
Free Willy.
Partially. Not kidding. So that got me interested. I was like, oh, these things are cool. And then I looked into it, and Blackfish is a phenomenal documentary if you haven't seen it. But from that, I learned that orca whales have a part of their brain for emotional regulation and understanding that we don't have.
That's incredible.
The orcas are empaths.
No, literally,
that means they choose violence. Like, they really choose violence.
Yes. Yeah, no, and that's...
I'm changing my answer. I'm an orca guy now.
That's why they are so tightly familial groups, is because they are so social animals, like such social animals, even more so than we are. They've also found that orca parents will, in certain times, specifically take prey, not kill it, and they will use it to teach their young how to hunt. And they won't kill it and eat it afterward. They will just use it to teach their children. And then when they're done, they'll move on. Because if they're satiated, they don't need food. They won't use it for food. They're just going to use it as an instruction material and move on.
God, that poor other fish.
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine going back to your like fish home and you're like, you just like, everybody's like, what happened? And you're like, I don't know.
Like guys coming back from Nam, like,
oh no, man. The orcas are doing the most dangerous game.
Yes.
All right. Good Lord. All right. Are there more?
Yeah, not a ton more.
All right. Get through them so I can quickly go through the ones from last night.
Yep. Pseudo Legend says, Daddy Goon said it best. If you think the government wouldn't do that, oh yes, they would. Very accurate.
Yeah.
Tyler Dalrymple says, here's $2 to help you pay for bail eventually.
We were discussing if that would be considered a business expense.
When he was getting walked out, I literally had a vision of walking up to the counter at the county jail with a check and being like, yeah. Thanks.
Really would be the completion of our House Watson arc.
Yeah.
Or House Wilson arc.
Yeah.
Holmes Watson, House Wilson.
Freudian slip, though, because that is kind of the gist of why they named that.
I mean, it's, very much so, yeah. Pseudo Legend says, Mattis, have you ever heard of the Christian musician Brandon Lake? And if so, what do you think of him? Quote, Jesus is my boyfriend, or no?
I don't know that I've heard of Brandon Lake. Do I know any Brandon Lake songs?
It's been so long since I've listened to any Christian music at all.
Most of the Christian music I listen to is pop punk or metal.
Also, Chimp gave us $2
or
for
Creed.
Money for the Total Clanker Death Fund.
Nice.
God. You can't make those jokes, man. That's
the stuff you were dropping in chat last night, Chimp.
Well, also just what total already. Listen, Clanker's funny, but the one you're referencing is pretty rough.
I don't even know the reference.
Just replace the C word with an N. Which is that's one that's not fun.
Oh,
yeah, we can't be doing that one.
Had I known that, I wouldn't have said it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget how pure I am.
I
Mr. N42 says, hopefully you all cancel the data center. As a 10-year IT admin / tech, I'm so annoyed that my IT ancestors did not listen to the CryptoPunks, in parentheses, not related to cryptocurrency, back in the 80s. Also, JMO says Glass, Ohio.
You know what?
What if we just put all the data centers in Ohio?
I'd make that deal.
It could not make Ohio worse.
Well, can you put data centers in a place that doesn't exist?
Would property values in Cleveland go down if there was a data center in Cleveland?
No, I can't. I don't think they can go
That
down
might be
any
the
further.
one place in the country where they'd go up.
Yeah.
That or Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
What if we just make the Midwest data centers?
Works for me.
Or maybe just Ohio and Indiana.
Just Ohio.
A little bit of Indiana.
Gary, Indiana.
Yeah. Gary.
I seriously wonder if these people envision and like dream of a world where they're basically the only humans.
I think that's what they're doing. I genuinely think that they are trying to ramp up the process of AI and robotics to get rid of other humans so they don't have to worry about like paying them.
It is breaking the brains of people I know who are very well versed in economics because they're like, well, if it makes things more efficient, then it doesn't make sense to not do it. It's like, and they're like, it's just like the internet. And I'm like, it's not just like the internet. The internet couldn't replace jobs entirely. The internet could augment jobs. It did get rid of some. There aren't that many secretaries around anymore. But the internet couldn't replace humans. AI is being designed to replace humans. And the problem with that is if you have robots that are making the food, and you have robots that are doing the accounting, and you have robots that are doing the customer service, and you have robots doing basically every job, because eventually they're going to be able to weld, and they're going to be able to, do other, they're going to be able to do electrical work. They're going to be able to do trades. First, it's the white collar jobs. Like those are what's screwed first, but eventually it will come for the blue collar jobs and farming and things like that. And eventually there will be no jobs for anybody to have. And people have said, oh, well, at that point, there's no more scarcity. First of all, no. The robots picking the food doesn't mean that there's more of it. It's not going to solve scarcity. But before it even gets to that point, the problem is going to come when it takes just 10% of jobs. Because once let's think about it. Probably what are some of the most likely jobs to disappear as a result of AI? Accounting, customer service, copywriting.
Yeah, anything administrative, basically.
Anything administrative, anything efficiency focused, HR. It's going to be mostly white collar. But if you lose just 10% of jobs, all those white collar people who just had their jobs replaced by AI, now they're moving down. And suddenly you've got millions upon millions of people who are competing for jobs that in some ways they're overqualified for, and in others they're going to be underqualified. And then that's going to be the point at which we hit depression. Like 15, 20% unemployment. When AI takes 20% of jobs, the market collapses because nobody has money to buy things.
That's the thing, is you need some form of either universal basic income or just essentially a
But when fewer people, when nobody is making money, there's no taxes to fund UBI.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's just generate as much in this world digital currency as possible.
The only way that AI,
digital fiat currency, not crypto.
The only way that the vision the tech bros are selling us works is if you drastically reduce the number of living humans.
Yeah.
Because again, we're like, I think the thing people get stuck on is that they wrap.
Teal an antinatalist?
I don't know. Probably. I think what a lot of people do is they wrap up everything about sci-fi, like Star Trek, into one package. And it's like, yeah, Star Trek has pretty advanced AI. They also have replicators.
Yeah.
We don't have replicators.
Yeah.
The reason that everything sci-fi works is because they eventually figure out how to 3D print stuff from nothing.
Yeah. Well, and for every Star Trek that's sort of this like utopian vision of the far future, there's also the Matrix.
Yeah.
There's also Blade Runner. There's also, vision, the real world implementation of these things could go the best way you can imagine post-scarcity, but it could also go one of the ways that we've imagined Terminator.
Yep,
right?
there is a 99.999 repeating chance that AI goes the direction of Terminator rather than Star Trek.
And the generation...
The chance of it being Star Trek is so low that you might as well just ignore it.
So have you looked into Curtis Yarvin at all?
No, but also we need to finish this show.
I know, but just in terms of this...
Are there more super chats?
Yeah, there's like 4 more.
Okay, go through them.
I will.
Brother, please.
I know. Well, but we just went on...
yelled at by my woman.
I know, but you guys just went on a 5-minute rant.
know.
We're doing 30 seconds of something.
The whole podcast episode next week will be about... about...
So the reason I'm bringing up Curtis Yarvin is because he was directly responsible and influential in Steve Bannon, J.D. Vance, Michael Anton, Peter Thiel, and a number of other the PayPal mafia. And he is the one who is pushing the techno-monarchy and a variety of different things that are accelerationist and somewhat antinatalist.
Is that what he refers to it as, the techno-monarchy?
Yes.
Okay.
And neo-feudalism via techno-monarchy.
Wonderful.
And has frequently defended the institution of slavery based on the fact that certain races are naturally more inclined to servitude than others.
Oh, that's great.
This is the guy that has been referenced by a number of different billionaires that are in Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
I would not be shocked if that is, Mattis, to what you were just saying, part of the influence and the plan moving forward is based off of this guy's writing, as they've already said.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, they think there's an acceptable loss of life. That just is that makes it better for them because that gets them. Lots of people are killed by the after effects of this. That it means fewer problems for them to have to solve once we are basically glorified cattle.
You also got to remember that none of these people believe in an afterlife.
Correct.
They all think that this is all it is. So the best thing they can do is find a way to be immortal in a world that serves them. And I think that that's what they're pursuing. I'm pretty sure Sam Altman has said as much, that he wants to upload his consciousness to a computer, which I don't know if he necessarily realized that, like, that's not how that works.
No, it's not at all.
That's just you dying and an AI version of you continuing. It's not you. That's not your consciousness. It might be your electrical impulses. It might be like the specific mechanics of what makes a brain work, and it might have your memories, but it won't be you. You will be dead.
There's a really...
And Sam, I gotta be so real with you, Chief. You're not going to the good place.
No.
It's time to repent.
There's also...
Literally any religion would be better than what you're currently doing. There are religions out there that are frankly okay with what you probably did to your sister. So
there is a theory, and it's a really weird theory that aligns with that in essentially pseudophysics circles, where it's essentially it's like an immortality paradox of you dying in one reality and then aligning with another reality to essentially have your conscience in any given moment be transferred to that other universe, essentially. I wouldn't be shocked if that's what they're clinging to.
Man, I am so glad I'm a Christian.
That's the kind of thing that these people would... Yeah.
It is so much easier to imagine my afterlife where they're like doing all sorts of weird mental gymnastics. I'm like, heaven.
Yeah.
I die, my body passes away, my soul goes to heaven. And then eventually my body is resurrected and my soul comes back to it, and we live in a perfect earth with no sickness, sadness, and all plenty. But
you'd think that would like sell way more people than it does.
Wasn't Richard Dawkins the one who recently said something along the lines of like, and maybe this is, fake news that I fell for, but I haven't really thought hard about it. But wasn't he the one recently that was basically like, we thought new atheism would create a rationalist society where people were more moral and everything, but instead it's just made religions weirder?
He definitely did say that. And another line from that spiel is he says, I'm not a Christian, but I want to live in a Christian society.
Yeah.
I was like,
I think...
Well, he's come out and said, he's just like, I understand your belief system, I just don't believe in it.
Yeah.
And I recognize the social utility that it provides.
I think that's the problem is in the 80s and 90s, they thought that the social utility was a negative.
There were two classes of atheists.
They thought that you would be able to get to a point where we kept all of the good things that Christian society created, but just basically continued on with the Enlightenment, and that wasn't what happened.
That was more Christopher Hitchens than it was Dawkins. Dawkins was always more of the, I'm not an atheist, I'm an atheist, in the sense that I don't care what you believe in, I just don't believe in it.
Didn't he write a book called The God Delusion?
I think so.
Yeah,
yes, he did.
well,
That seems pretty antagonistic.
Yeah, and
He was a lot more antagonistic
In the 90s.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, is back in the 90s, they were like, we need to take down religion so that we can have a society that's like Star Trek.
Right, and even prior to the social utility stuff, he would also say things like, he was on a podcast with Alex something, who's another atheist, and he was basically
Alex O'Connor?
Is that the British guy?
Yeah.
So he was on it, and Alex
I had
O'Connor
a reverse. Hitchens was the atheist.
Yeah. And Alex was basically like, I think religion is a subject that needs to be studied. We need to understand it. And then Dawkins was like, I can't believe you want to actually study this. Like, this is all hoo-ah. This is all, you know, it's so tedious to even talk about religion. But then he's kind of pivoted to like, but, you know, it has social value now.
So I was right, because Dawkins, he did do the God delusion, and he was against the idea of God. But Christopher Hitchens was specifically anti-theist.
Gotcha.
He was very much of the idea that religion made the world worse. But anyway.
You think if you were alive today, you might regret?
Everybody read Dominion by Tom Holland if you want to know
got a very nice
exactly
copy of
how
that for
much
Christmas.
how much Christianity has improved the philosophy and social order of basically
even if you don't believe in God,
time frame.
Even if you don't believe in God, the society that you exist in and many of the things you like about it are derived from Christianity. There are things you don't like about it that are derived from Christianity as well, but things like our justice system are rooted in Christianity.
The concept of people having intrinsic rights of any kind.
The abolition of slavery was rooted in Christianity. The Constitution of the United States, which is the longest serving constitution in the world. The Magna Carta doesn't qualify as a constitution, by the way. That's why that is what it is. Designates rights as given by the creator, which is why we don't have the problems China has. It's because the government's not the final authority. So, listen, I recognize that religion has hurt people. I recognize that a lot of people have had negative experiences with it, but it also was what was keeping people like Peter Thiel out of power.
Pretty much.
So,
All right, moving on. Dan Garrett said an extremely bad option would be to cancel mutual aid agreements with that town. It will unalive people by reducing response times from EMS, fire, and PD, but it puts an almost literal pew-pew to the supervisor's head.
yeah, that's true.
I don't see any world in which that actually happens, but
That's the thing, is I think that they'd call the bluff. They'd do it anyway.
yeah.
Because there's no way that firefighters in Phoenixville and South Coventry are going to
Do that.
say, no, I'm not going to go
They'll
respond
just go
to a house
rogue and
fire.
respond anyway, even if they're ordered not to, yeah.
Ellis7682 said, Aidens, do you know of any Greenlandic/Icelandic folklore that would be make an interesting museum exhibition? I'm running a museum for an upcoming LARP game, and the setting is a fictional Nordic island.
I mean, one cool thing is the Adlet. It is a creature from Greenland Inuit mythology that was created when a woman had kids with a dog because she didn't want to marry and her father was trying to force her to. And it was
A reasonable solution.
believed that it was created, a myth that came about as a result of the of trying to explain white people, basically.
Ah.
And the fact that they knew there had been white people in Greenland, and then they left. And so it's basically this woman had children. Some of them became dog people. Some of them became white people. The white people went away to the east. The dog people went away to the west. And I believe I believe that the idea is that this may explain when like the Thule people got there and they were like, ooh, what's up with all this? That would be a good one. Also Selkies, while they are Orkney mythology, it is believed now that they were probably Inuit people.
Really?
Yeah. If you watch our, it's from late 2023.
That was that long ago?
Yeah, and it is the video about everything J.K. Rowling gets wrong in Harry Potter. That one has a chapter on Selkies where I go into the origins and some of the old versions of the story and why we think that it's Inuit people. Or potentially Sami people. Possibly both.
Mr. N says, feral historian collab when?
Feral historian?
Yes.
No idea who that is.
I'm going to have to look up who that is.
Marty McFreeze says, crazy if they found arrowheads and pottery shards.
It'd be so crazy if they found arrowheads and pottery shards. I'm going to be so real, guys. If any of you are Lenape and you have arrowheads and pottery shards that you're willing to part with.
It's for a good cause.
It's for a good cause. Yeah. We're trying to prevent them from stealing our land, you see. I recognize the irony.
Yeah.
That if it were up to me, if then there were an opportunity to put a proposal on the table where we take that land and, you know, remediate it and hand it right back to Lenape and you guys get to do it whatever you want with it, I would be for it. For those who are curious, my position on it right now, since I have not had anybody express a desire in that from the Lenape community to me, I would support that though. My position on it right now is that the state of Pennsylvania should use eminent domain, buy it at fair market price, remediate it, and then turn it into a museum and park.
Yep.
Because it's got a lot of great open space. It would be
Someone after you got thrown out did say that the site does meet the minimum criteria to be considered for addition to the National Register of Historic Places.
It does, yeah.
So that would be another really good option. State level's good, but that works too.
Paul Did It says, the last thing we need is you in jail. Go Pack Cat said, not sure property tax situation in PA, but in South Dakota, state legislature has rejected tax exemptions and some data centers have canceled plans to build here.
What was that? Sorry, I was looking at Feral Historian. I would get this guy on if we could. He looks chill.
Cool.
He does hiking and talks about history.
Sweet. Go Pack Cat said, not sure property tax situation in Pennsylvania, but in South Dakota, state legislature has rejected tax exemptions and some data centers have canceled plans to build here.
Good.
Yeah. Slinky String says, I love that they don't understand the power of the pepperbacks.
Yeah. I would love, first of all, Eli and I have chatted about us coming back down. It's just that, like us, he never answers the phone.
Yep.
Which I'm not mad at him for because I get it. I also take forever to respond to people. But if we were to go back down there, the things I would want to talk about would be the missing scientists and this AI and what's going on, what this really looks like on the ground in data center meetings and everything, and what local councils are doing to people. So those would be two of the things I would love to chat with the unsub guys about.
Yep.
Especially now that I've been kicked out.
NN says, hey guys, did the people there have a lawyer to represent them against the council and the builders? There was a similar situation here. A lawyer was hired by the people and it shut down the Constitution. Yeah, it does say Constitution. There are a number of lawyers that are representing different members of the community.
Yes, there are some lawyers involved. I do think it would be good to have general counsel for the whole group.
Yeah.
But I don't. It's just complicated and expensive.
Well, it seems like there's a small group that has general counsel. Then there's
EVA or whatever it was called.
Yeah, and then I think there's one for the veterans.
I think if this next
there
meeting,
isn't one for the veterans. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, if this next meeting does not result in kind of an obvious shift towards we're not approving this, then I think that's when it becomes time. Also, part of the thing is that you need standing to even get a lawyer. So like the Veterans Center, for example, has standing, straight up. But a lot of lawyers aren't going to take a case if you haven't even established that you have standing yet.
Yeah, anybody who has it denied their application for party status and they appeal it, they should all lawyer up.
Yeah.
For that appeal process.
But I think, and also we can't get a lawyer because we're not even in that township. Yeah. So we are affected, and I would argue that we deserve party status as well, but based on how the meeting last night went, they would not give it to me. That being said, if there is an opportunity to apply for party status for this next one, and we are allowed to do so, then I will do it simply for the opportunity to speak.
Yeah. Peter White Jr. says, just an FYI, I believe that AI will destroy humanity.
I agree.
Chimp says, tell the crackheads about the copper in the data center.
Oh, the copper in the data center? The RAM in the data centers is free?
The RAM is free.
You can take it.
Green Turret finishes us off saying, y'all gonna see the new Animal Farm movie?
The Seth Rogen Animal Farm movie where he somehow made it into communism good and clearly didn't understand the source material at all.
I don't know.
And somehow it was produced by Angel Studios.
Dude, I want to see the Angel Studios Gorbachev and Reagan movie.
Yeah, that looks good too.
insane.
I plan on watching Animal Farm specifically so that I can like write about it, or I am curious to see what they did with it, and we'll see if I agree with the interpretation. Are we on Mattis right now?
What, the last super chat to come, or the regular chat to come in?
No. Jon Favreau scrapped The Mandalorian Season 4 scripts featuring Thrawn to start from scratch for The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Oh, God.
Season 4 of The Mandalorian was going to have Admiral Thrawn as the main villain, and that's probably how he planned to tie together all of the post Episode 6, pre-Episode 7 storylines. But Disney told him no.
I will caveat and say, if the reason for that was that he is going to pivot to doing Thrawn in movies, Thrawn is a character that I've even thought before
I don't think that's what's going to happen.
Before he was even brought into Ahsoka, I thought, look, this should be done in a movie. They should do Heir to the Empire or a canonical version of it in theaters with a theatrical budget.
Yeah.
So if that's the alternative that the sequel to the Mandalorian and Grogu movie will have,
I don't think that's what's going to happen.
something like that. But yeah, if it's just like
my guess is that's not what's going to happen because Disney doesn't understand how to make Star Wars, and they never will. All right, now to quickly go through all of the ones from last night because you guys were very generous. All right, from Faith, we have can't stick around but here to support the cause. Thank you. From Pseudo Legend, we have down with the clankers. You guys are for real doing the Lord's work. Please keep it up. Thank you. We have Kellen saying bring the clankers down to their knees. Oh, you know I will. Chimp Grenade saying the RAM in the data centers is free. You can take it. Pseudo Legend with we must return to the days where we decorated oak trees with politicians like ornaments on Christmas and then let them down because it's just for fun and non-lethal in Minecraft.
In The Witcher 3.
In The Witcher 3. No, in The Witcher 3, it's definitely lethal. Jeez. Spoon
Roblox?
Cat.
No.
Spoon Cat for 20 gig. A lot of things in Roblox are illegal. Said, keep fighting the good fight. You are on the right side of history, and someday everyone will know that. You have our support. Thank you. We agree that this is the right side of history. Alec Katori said, I feel like not many people are speaking against data centers, certainly not in my area. AI is getting kind of scary. I'm one of the only ones that can tell when something is AI in my family, and that is shocking to me. That is why I think the outreach and doing more things like this and filming these hearings and showing people that, like, yes, the studies have been done. AI is bad. The data centers are bad. And, like, it's only going to get worse. Real Cartel Pilot said for cocktail funds and sent 556. Seriously, though, keep fighting the good fight, lads. You have an unsub level army behind you. Yeah, again, I really hope that we can talk to the unsub guys about this. Pseudo Legend said, oh, by the way, a missing girl was found safe and sound today and returned to her family. So that was good news here in Fantasy State. I'm not sure what Fantasy State means, but yes, I'm glad that she was found safe. Chimp Grenade said, milkboard the clanker lovers. And you know what? I think you just gave me a great idea that I will certainly never actually engage in.
If nothing else, it's a great t-shirt.
Yeah. Pseudo Legend said, these sick people hog up an ungodly amount of time and have the gall to rush the speakers. Absolutely disgusting creatures. Yeah, that was with reference to the fact that at the very beginning of the meeting, they said they needed to deliberate about something and then disappeared for 90 minutes.
Yep.
Which is just fascinating. Pseudo Legend also said, lads, you need to get this guy on the mic at the podcast. I believe you were talking about Mr. Hacker, and we are going to do so. We have already gotten his number, and we will be having as many of these people on as we possibly can. Marty McFries asked us, had they started clearing the land yet? The answer was no, they have not. Potatoes for Seamus just said, beware the Wendussy. Pseudo Legend said, I pray they can hear you, LMAO, which is probably while I was making fun of the lawyer and the people he works for.
Yep.
I said he looked like he drove a BMW, which... some people will get why that's funny. I also suggested he was impotent and other things.
Yeah, I think it was the impotent comment specifically that generated that super chat.
Yeah. Moss Half Toe said licks toe thumbs. This is right after they asked me to show them my thumbs again.
Yeah, please consider repentance.
Please consider repentance. Aiden's over there salivating over the idea of toes.
No, I'm salivating over the fact that there are 10 Komatsu D355As for sale.
In our area?
I wish.
Hot D355As in your area.
That's worth a road trip.
Yeah.
There's one in... No, that one's...
Let's see. Marty McFry said, record after this. People are going to get pulled over. Thankfully, nobody got pulled over. Lilia Woodburn said, donating to the Fuck These Council Bootlickers campaign fund. Way to go, team. Adam West said, first donation for bail. And then Percocet 30 for 1.19 euros. Sent an ice cream cone.
I love that. What a way to end it.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We will see you live again next month. And be on the lookout for this week's episodes. We've got one on Monica Reza, who was the JPL and Aerojet Rocketdyne scientist who disappeared in June of 2025. And that is kind of the start for a new series on those disappearances as we come to the end of the Lost Dutch Girls one. Yep. And then over on Pepperbox next Wednesday, we will have a very long, very thorough, and seriously disconcerting episode on Carrie Stainer, the Yosemite Park killer.
And the next Lore Lads episode will be very much all about this. We're going to be talking about...
Yeah, well, specifically about the New Yorker article.
Right, yeah. Ronan Farrow's New Yorker article about Sam Altman.
So if you don't want to read Ronan Farrow's New Yorker article, great news. We're going to tell you all about it.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
See y'all.